This is easily the most fun Titan build I've played, with humongous clear and speed of a coked-up rabbit. This is a must-play build. It's fairly cheap, it's easy to get online, and more importantly, strong as fuck. Capable of one-tapping T4 bosses once you get your gear online. So, what is this build then? It's Thor, aka the Mjolnir Titan, with a massive shout out to my man Ulf, who wanted to create a replica of himself. And in this one, we'll discuss everything you need to get the build online, and how you can play it optimally. Because there are quite a few interactions you need to be aware of before slapping the build together, but once you know them, it will be easy to both gear and play the build. Let's start by taking a look at the main interactions. We first have Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. This thing used to be expensive as shit, but with the recent buffs, it's easily obtainable. And the weapon works by triggering lightning spells as you attack enemies, similar to that of all the persistent skill gems, like cast on crit or cast on shock, for example, but with the exception of this one triggering faster. And for triggered skills, we're using lightning warp, as this not only covers the entire screen in an explosion, but it also teleports us for greater mobility. To trigger the hammer, though, we need to attack with a skill ourselves. This is why we're spamming earthquakes, because not only does it deal respectable damage by itself, it also covers the entire fucking screen on top of that. Meaning, we cover the screen with earthquakes, which in turn covers the screen with lightning explosions as well. Lovely, huh? Yeah. And when it comes to bossing, we simply have a weapon swap and use rolling slam instead. Why, you may ask? Because it deals a gazillion more single target damage, I respond. That is basically the entire build in a nutshell. Everything else in this build is simply there to support these three skills. Let's take a look at how we do that, shall we? Starting us off, we're going to use a scepter in this build. Even though it's not mandatory, the benefit of doing so, though, is that you're getting a shit ton of spirit along with an additional passive for more defensives. And you can slot support gems in it to save up even more spirit. Basically, throw in everything usable here. Cannibalism for a lot of life recovery, which we'll need as we're going to spend life rather than mana in this build, along with herbalism and vitality for the same reason. We then go for our earthquakes. This works by leaving jagged grounds, which after some time explodes. As you can see, this is slow as hell, but in this build, we're going to stack reduced skill duration, which in turn is going to decrease the time it takes for our earthquakes to erupt. We further boost the skill via martial tempo to attack faster, along with close combat, lightning infusion, reach, and magnified effect for big dam and increased AoE. We then have our rolling slam. The idea here is to only use it on bosses. We'll break its armor, stun it, and nuke the guy into smithereens via our rolling slam. We're going to have it deal aftershocks, meaning additional hits, and then simply boost its damage. Execute is important, though. This is only usable as long as you grab the deepest tower helmet. More on that later. After that, it's time for our lightning spell on hit, aka Mjolnir. We slap on some lightning warps for additional damage and teleports, and boost the energy generation via energy retention and impetus for faster triggers. Blasphemy is also an interesting one. As we're going to stack a shit ton of spirit in this build, we can use blasphemy with ease to trigger curses around us. For example, conductivity for a huge damage increase by lowering enemy resistances, temporal chains to keep up curses for longer, heightened curse to boost them, and ritualistic curse for additional AoE. You can skip this skill if you want, but conductivity in particular is extremely viable when mapping. Next, another important skill, time of need. Since we're stacking duration reduction, we're going to trigger this faster as well, to both heal us, decurse us, and remove ailments. Pissed off at temporal chain maps? No worries, this solves it. But it's also viable as we're going to spend a gazillion life when hitting enemies, and we rather not kill ourselves. We then have Berserk, which will help us keep our rage up but also boost it by up to 60%, in turn increasing our damage substantially. Absolutely lovely. Next is Herald of Thunder. Why are we using this? Yeah, more damage, in particular more AoE damage. We simply boost it with as much damage as possible, and it will allow us to clear maps faster with additional AoE. Seismic Cry is more interesting, however. We want to make sure that bosses are stunned as quickly as possible, and we'll use Seismic Cry for this in combination with Dazing Cry for additional stagger. Voltaic Mark, then. Why the hell are we using this? Well, 3 reasons. First, it allows us to shock easier. Secondly, it increases the magnitude of our shocks, and most importantly, we can combine it with Single Out to have it break enemy armor as we're spamming our rolling slams. Cool, huh? Yeah. And finally, Infernal Cry and Overwhelming Presence. Infernal Cry is only used to boost our damage and empower us, so you can keep this at the lowest level possible to save life. We then simply reduce its cost, have it grant us some more damage, cooldown reduction, and most importantly, grant us a bunch of rage as we use it. This makes it a must-have on bosses, as we're able to instantly fill our rage bar as a boss fight starts. And when it comes to Overwhelming Presence, this is only really used for bossing. You can then swap out Blasphemy, and you'll stagger the boss more easily. Well shit, that's the gems. Let's check out the gear now, shall we? Or you rather drop a sub first? Yeah, do that, you dog, and we'll continue afterwards. So, the gear. We have a few must-have uniques here. Firstly is the Mjölner hammer, obviously. Next is the Järngriper, whatever the fuck that means. Using this, we can use strength rather than a bunch of intelligence for our gear, which we'll need as we're gonna rock giants' blood, tripling the requirements. The rest of the uniques are not mandatory but extremely useful. For example, Deepest Tower. This will substantially increase your damage by being able to use low-life nodes. We also have Morior Invictus, where you want attributes, resistances, and finally global defenses. Headhunter is magnificent for mapping, and last time I checked, you can get one fairly cheap. But if you're broke as shit, you just go for a regular belt or whip out that credit card of yours. Just stay away from the blue-haired demon.
Get her the fuck out, standing for.
And finally, for the last unique, we're using the Guiding Palm's Scepter. Ideally, you would use the Chaos 1, but that shit costs like 200 divines. So we're instead going with the Lightning 1, Guiding Palm of the Mind, increasing your clearing speed and granting spirit. For the other weapon swap though, you're just going for 2-handed maces with as much damage as possible for nuking bosses. Lastly, the rare items. This is where you get your last couple of resistances sorted, a bunch of flat damage on your rings, along with making sure to get spirit, and anointing Titanic on your amulet for the additional strength, because strength, strong strength, good. And with that, the gearing section is complete. What do you say we check out the passives, and then we'll be near done with the guide? Let's do it. The main reason for going Titan is due to hulking form, allowing us to further boost skill duration reductions, allowing us to trigger earthquakes even faster. We then have Earthbreaker and Ancestral Empowerment, granting us disgusting amounts of damage. You can play this build with other classes as well, but Titan is by far the best. We then head on over to grab Reduced Skill Effect Duration that we talked about, along with any bit of damage and strength we can find to solve for the strength requirements. The green is used for mapping, granting us increased presence, AoE, and the pink path for getting as much damage as possible. After that, we go for as much strength as possible while grabbing some additional damage and resolute technique to make sure enemies never evades our hits. Because having our slow-ass rolling slam getting evaded on a boss fight is one hell of a yikers. We also want an Against the Darkness here with additional strength and ideally damage. Keep moving downwards, getting vocal empowerment for additional war cry uptime, and skull crusher for nuking bosses, because remember, we'll always get them stunned. Taking this route, we use blood magic, turning our mana costs into life costs, and keep going all the way up here for strength, defense, Whispers of Doom, which is used so that we can keep the two curses up at the same time that we slot it into our blasphemy, remember? And of course, more reduced skill effect duration, yummers. Alright, now we move all the way back again to get some additional lovely nodes. We want strength, more strength, and brute strength to get some actual damage from all the strength that we stack, and also the reason as to why we need all this strength, Giant's Blood. If you have any issues meeting your requirements, then you can just grab some additional strength, intelligence, and socket some attribute jewels and runes. Alright, and then to finalize this bad boy, we head on down to grab additional damage and AoE modifiers, while getting iron reflexes to turn our evasion into armor, and getting even more attributes from polymathy. And finally, we head on over to grab the low-life clusters up here that we can utilize via the deepest tower helmet. Not only does this increase our damage greatly, because they truly do, scaling 3 to 4 times higher than other nodes, but we also get lucky. And Lord knows I need that. But it also allows your damage rolls to roll twice for a substantial damage increase. Cool, huh? Damn right. And now, my friends, it's finally time. Time to get gold and learn how to play this magnificent build. It's extremely easy while mapping, but bossing will require a bit more of you. For mapping, though, you basically just keep punching the earthquake button. Press it, shit explodes, and you continue. You can use your infernal cry if you want, preferably to nuke map bosses and elites, but typically it's not required other than killing T4 pinnacle bosses. And speaking of pinnacle bosses, let's see how you kill them. Firstly, you'll swap weapon sets to your two-handed maces for additional damage. Here, you use Seismic Cry to boost your stagger and Infernal Cry to boost your damage. You then simply press Voltaic Mark, followed by dropping a Rolling Slam. This will in turn allow you to break its armor and of course also stagger the boss. Once the boss is staggered and you've broken its armor, all you need to do is keep spamming the Rolling Slam button until it's dead. If you keep your buffs from your headhunter or use an ingenuity belt when bossing, then you should more or less just one-shot the fucker. Otherwise, a few hits should suffice. With that, I'm done with this one. Drop a sub, check out my man Ulf, and I'll see you in the next one.